Well, I've been watching all these ads since the morning, and my head is really spinning. Uh, and I feel now a little reluctant because I'm going to take you on to another track, a track which has nothing to do really with the making of ads, but the thinking behind the ads. And I want to speak a little bit about the collaboration, like what Abhijit just showed, was a collaboration with a breakthrough. So here I'm going to talk about how these collaborations can come about, and do we really need them? And my view is that it's a win-win situation for both. We need each other, and how can we make better ads, and how can we make a better dissemination of views and values and issues which we think are valuable. Yeah. So I don't have anything to show. The power of the media is not here. It's just the power of words. So I'm just going to use my words to show you what I would like to say. When I began my activist innings, it was in 1980s. And some of the first things we took besides violence against women was the media. And we call that, the portrayal of women in media. And because the media is so powerful, and it has big money and deep pockets behind it, that is the corporate houses, which can run campaigns for years on end, and can therefore influence people much more than anything what you can say, just by speaking or by reading. It becomes very important to do something with media. And the initial things were just the very gross images of women, the stereotypes, the objectification, which we took up. And we did it in a fairly aggressive way. It was very much like the Guerrilla Girls, aggressive way in the sort of we even tarred a few posters just to make our point because nobody wanted to listen to our point. So that was the beginning. And since the 1980s to now, if I look and say that, well, have there been any changes? I would say, yes, there have been changes, and yes, there have not been changes. Yes, there have been changes, and we've seen some lovely examples of the changes now. Not only like the bell bajao, but even the other sensitivity which has come out, talking about mothers, talking about girls, talking about fathers' relation, all that. So there have been changes. People have been making and have become much more sensitive than they were earlier. But at the same time, we always live in an uneven world, right? So at the same time, there is still the objectification. There is still the commodification. And worse, what we spoke about in the morning, are the normal looking ones clothed in tradition, like the marriage serials and the household scenes, which seemingly look very normal, but actually give you these very subtle messages about the discrimination between the two sexes. So those are the ones, and they are still there with us. We had two here, right in this podium, we had two conflicting views on the Mother Dairy ad, right? We had one person say that let's be optimistic and look at the silver lining, and we had one view saying that there's a problem in that. Right, and I think that this is the ones where we have to really look on how we understand the issue of gender to be able to say that. Anything can have a silver lining, right? But we have to be a little more analytical in seeing how we are doing the portrait, and that's where I think the issue of values and all will also come in. But it's also the question of understanding that issue, which we need to do. Now, coming to the collaboration part. We began, I'll have to speak about the case study, which is Akshara, the organization which I'm in, and the collaboration, which we have done a collaboration with like 2-3 organizations, but our most long-lasting one has been with Leo. So I'll speak, when I talk about these issues, I'm talking about my own experience and not in general. I believe that the collaboration bit started though Sangeeta is quite opposed to awards, along with awards and with the concept of corporate social responsibility. why corporate social responsibility is that the whole idea percolated down from the corporate world even to the ad industry and saying that, okay, we should also do something. So it's not only just about creating and writing and, bringing out ads, but can we do also something, like if Jagore was not done by Tata's, which is a corporate house, yeah, you wouldn't be writing it. So, okay, it's a chicken and egg story. Who told who to do what, we don't know. But anyway, it comes from that, this thing. And I personally am not really opposed to awards, because awards in a way constitutionalizes a certain idea and say, okay, do it. Now, there'll be a lot of people saying, oh, we're going to do it only for the awards. And that's my next point, that I look at collaboration, I see two types of collaborations with NGOs, which the ad industry has. The first is a one-time. Okay, I'm going to help this organization because they've come, I like what they're doing, they're a good organization, they've come through some of the contacts that I know, or a person who's working in my organization, so let me design something for them, or let me do something for them, and they support them. Fair enough. There are also another sort of one-time associations which people have come to us and said that, okay, we've made a video on domestic violence. We have to put it in for the awards, but we have to have an NGO, right? So they borrow my name as an NGO to put it in there, so then they can put it in awards. I look at that also as a one-time. We have said no sometimes, we have said yes sometimes in giving our names, but again, I would categorize it in a one-time association. And the other one is a more long-time association, which I see, which we've had with Leo, in which we look at the issue and not just the helping out or the designing or whatever. And once they accept that, yes, I think that this issue needs to be worked on, then we work out a more long-term arrangement. I'm going to give you an example on how we have done that. Violence is a big issue, but when we were collaborating with Leo, what we were looking at is how are we going to do something which is going to have some impact? And they helped us in several ways. They sort of sorted out our communication strategy. That was one. They did a lot of designing work for us. And whilst we were having these dialogues, we came up with the idea of a helpline because of a particular incident that had happened. Yeah, that was the Marriott case, sexual harassment, if you remember. And after that, we said, well, why not a helpline? And we started plugging for it. And we did this entire campaign around 103 helpline. So we had the ads, we had the posters. They gave us a communication strategy. And they gave us what was called on-the-ground activities, that you can do this, you can do that, you can do that. Some we accepted, some we said, no, it's not possible for us to do it. And it was a it was really a win-win situation for both of us. Yeah, so this is the sort of collaboration which is possible. And I think that from my part, from Akshara's part, I can say that it really helped us in understanding what communication was all about. Because we are not communication experts, right? We run an organization for a long-term issue, and that's what we are good at. Yeah, but here were people who were good at communication who helped us with that. Now, so that's a success story. And I think if I were to extract what were the areas of why it became successful, I would say that Leo had one dedicated person. Said, okay, here's your contact person, yeah, and you can deal. They allocated time for it. See, you can give a person, but if that person doesn't have time to help you, yeah, then it's going to come to naught. So there was a time. So they lost a little bit by releasing this person to be able to do that. And that's a very important thing that I think organizations have to understand in order to make this collaboration work. And the third and the most important thing is that that person who also got the creative person, the designer, and everyone together, we formed a think tank. Because it's not always that the views which we hold, the values which we hold, and the gender analysis which we have is reflected in that team. Yeah, that team can also come up with something like this and say, no, this is very good. And so it's the dialogue which in a way changes us and in a way changes them. I think that creation of that environment is extremely important. What are the areas of confusion? The areas of confusion or the problem areas that come up when you do this sort of collaboration is one that advertisers come from the framework of branding. Yeah, and here we have a product, if you want to call it, but we are not branding it. Right? We want a long-term thing, we want that this thing, but it's not a brand. So there has to be a sort of a paradigm shift when the agency also takes on a social issue. You cannot use the same background and the same training which you have had in making ads for commercial products to come in here. So a little bit of that shift has to be made. And if that shift is made, then it becomes a little more productive. The other thing is that many times the ad agencies don't realize that the NGOs come with very limited resources in manpower and in money. So many times we've been advised that, okay, you'll have to do this and it has to be long, it has to be done periodically, right? And it can then have an impact. But we don't have the resources to do what Airtel is doing for years on end, yeah, or what the police is doing for 100 for years on end. So again, the whole idea of how to help an NGO and an issue needs to change. The last point is that there's always this wanting an immediate impact. Yeah, okay. Now, if I do this, the tea has to sell, or this product has to sell. You know, coming from that framework, and social issue cannot work that fast. You're talking about domestic violence, you're talking about rape and all. It's not going to disappear that fast. Yes, you might get a few examples of that sort, which will come in. But the issue is not going to go away that fast. We have to keep on working at it for a very long time, given the social setup that we are in. So that is just my few views of a collaboration between an NGO and an ad agency. Thank you.